Hello world, this is Edward Bevilacqua, the publisher of Ciao Tutti, the magazine for the Italian American Club here in Las Vegas. And I have the great privilege of being here with Frank and Tony Sorrentino, attorneys in Las Vegas for a long time. Thank you both for taking the time this afternoon to chat with us.
Thanks for coming by.
Okay, and so we're going to jump right into it because I know you're busy, and I'll start with Frank. What are your Italian roots? And I imagine yours are the same, right?
That's right.
Okay, just checking.
Well, we were born in Trenton, New Jersey.
Okay.
And our grandparents, on our dad's side, Italian. Our dad came over from Italy when he was 7 years old.
Okay. What part of Italy?
From Montecalvo. It's in the Abruzzi, a little town up in the mountains.
Okay. My family's from that area too.
That's great. Yeah. And being back in Jersey, there was a lot of Italian Americans, so it was, it was fun growing up there and everything, and everything with the culture was the food, and Italians like to eat, so food is very important.
Family is most important.
Family is absolutely,
In the whole Trenton area. Yeah.
Did
your dad's parents come out with them too, or was it just you?
Our dad's father and his uncle came out before he got here.
Okay.
And then Dad came, about 7 years
later? 7 years old,
he
he came with his mom.
So grandparents came in 1920.
Our Nana.
Your Nana.
Nana. And what they were Pop was a cobbler, a shoe repairman,
Okay.
and his Uncle Tony in Italy. So when they got to Jersey, they started with a shoe repair.
Okay.
And the business grew, and they were well known. We had a family shoe business back in Trenton for orthopedic shoes.
Really?
Meaning, people have
from scratch.
feet and this and that. They would go to the doctor and they give a prescription. Then you come to the store and we put the arch supports in and the whole thing.
Did you guys ever have to do that?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We grew up in the
store,
business when we were like 5 years old.
With the gluing of the arch supports
and everything,
maybe this shoe had to have a little bit more of a lift because the guy's leg was a little shorter on this side and everything.
So and how long did you do that?
Oh God, the business was.
How long did you do?
We did it pretty much till we moved out here, and when we moved to Vegas, that's what I did before I went to school. I sold shoes down there at Vegas Village and JCPenney and Broadway.
We moved to Las Vegas in September of '73.
Okay.
And by that time, my father was out of the shoe business, and he ended up going to work at one of the art galleries at the hotel.
Okay.
Because that was his passion.
Art.
His business was the shoe business, but his passion was art.
He could paint like you could not believe. He knew everything about art history. And, so when we got out here, he got on with Caesar's Palace. There was a...
Well, wait, let's stay back on your dad.
Okay.
So your dad was a cobbler, and he made special shoes.
Exactly. For people with club feet, and
did he come home from work? For him, we have a lot of people who their father was in masonry or something like that, and for them it was, art. They took pride in what they did. Did your dad take pride in what he did?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, was he the best cobbler?
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess you would say basically, the shoe business in Trenton, orthopedic shoes, the name was known. Sorrentino's, if you had trouble with, the foot doctor, then you would go to Sorrentino's.
Okay.
Because our grandfather was there. We worked in the store. Our mom worked in the store.
3 generations.
Oh, yeah.
You used to live above the store.
Right.
You were a little boy. I went into
I did.
That's when you were 5?
They're probably younger than that.
Well, I wasn't even born yet.
It was a short period.
Above
the third
the
store in downtown Trenton there, as far as that goes. And these were before the days of air conditioning back there, so.
Well, not only that, back then in New Jersey, they were mostly family-owned businesses, shoe business. The same way that you had, your family-owned bookstore, your family-owned.
Okay.
Now we have, big-time, convenience stores and obviously nationwide chains pulled in, and to some extent the family stores got shifted away.
I see. Okay. And so family you talked about. Your dad obviously had to take pride in what he did.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And did he require that you guys take pride in the shoes? Like,
sure.
Our name is on the store.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
You have to uphold the family name and family tradition as far as that goes. But then he wanted us also, Dad had a couple years of college, and he used to actually take the train when he got done working the store down to Philly to go to Temple University at night to take night classes, working
And
on
like
his
what, art?
degree. And he
Art
was, I think
history,
it was art
art,
history.
English,
Yeah,
you know, good stuff.
Oh,
Good stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
but he always
Emphasized education constantly.
constantly, you know, as
Constantly.
So
far
you
as
guys
that
had to get
goes.
good grades.
We did.
Yeah.
We did.
Okay. Now, did he also make belts like for you guys for at home, or did you buy those?
No, we bought
Just
most
shoes.
of
We
them.
bought them.
Just shoes.
Yeah.
Or did you?
Shoes.
But you probably didn't have your own shoes, right? Made by your did you guys make your own shoes?
Remember, he sold both regular shoes and the orthopedic shoes, so we would get our stuff there at the store.
We would just order the shoes we wanted. If they had to be fine-tuned by him, he would do it, or his
Okay.
father. Remember, his father worked there, too.
Oh, yeah.
Pop-Up, as we call him.
Yeah.
He worked there till what? He was 75 or
Yeah.
something like that in the
Yeah.
back, you know. and
Now,
he
did
was
you
a
guys
craftsman.
customize your shoes? Like put
Oh.
your initials on them?
No, we didn't do that. We didn't do that. You know?
Okay. That wasn't the trend then. Customized sneakers.
You put your initials on them in school so that if somebody would steal them, you could locate them, I
Yeah.
guess. You know, in your locker
So
or
that was
something, yeah.
now. But your mother was not Italian.
Mom was
So
Irish
they
on
must have
both
met
sides.
here.
They met here.
Was
and
she
Mom,
from Trenton?
Mom was actually from Bristol, Pennsylvania, right outside of Philly. But
How
her
far away
parents-
is that? 'Cause I don't know.
that time was probably what, 20 miles from Trenton.
Bristol's 20
25
miles from Trenton.
Long ways.
And she was a nurse, a registered nurse there at St. Francis Hospital in Trenton, where that's where we were all born there, you know.
Oh.
And I don't know where Mom and Dad ever met, at a dance or something, I guess it was, you
Yeah.
know.
Okay.
But on Mom's side, her parents were from Donegal in Ireland. He
Oh,
came over,
okay.
you know.
This was after the war. My father served about 3.5 years in the U.S. Army during World War II
yeah.
in Patton's Army.
Wow.
Patton's Army.
So he had a lot of stories.
He was gone.
Yeah.
He was gone overseas for 3.5 years, wasn't he?
When you guys were growing up.
No, we
No,
weren't
this
born
was
yet.
before.
Well, this is before. Yeah,
40s, yeah.
we were born in the early 50s.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. So, who came to Las Vegas first?
You know, it's funny. Our dad, when he got out of, what was it, high school or college or something, they said his parents told him, you know, we're going to send you on a trip. Where do you want to go? He said, well, I want to go west. Because when we had relatives, our grandfather's brother came with him from Italy. He was in the shoe business in Trenton, New Jersey. But then in 46, I think it was, he moved to Glendale, California and opened up a shoe business out
He
there.
didn't like New Jersey.
He didn't like it, he didn't like the
California,
weather and
orange
all that, you
groves,
know.
good weather, stuff
You know.
like that.
So Dad said, well, let me go out to Glendale.
Visit Uncle
to
Tony.
Got it.
And he passed through Vegas then, and oh my God, it was so early. The strip was just a dirt road. You could buy land like
So
dirt
when he
cheap.
came back, did he tell you what it was like?
He came back, and he always loved the West. It was he didn't like the weather back east. You know, the sinuses, the
Yeah.
snow.
But why didn't he move?
Well, we
Eventually,
did.
it took a
Eventually,
while.
every summer we go on vacation. Back then, you know, we were in high school. We said, well, let's finish high school first before we move, you know, get uprooted, you know, and everything. So by the time we moved here in 73, we'd been coming at it for like 20 years. So it's like we
Okay.
knew the town left and right. When
So
we
now
got it.
this is summer vacations, right?
Right.
Exactly.
You come out to see your uncle.
Yeah.
Well, we'd come out to Vegas. Sometimes we'd go to Southern
We'd go down
California
to
too.
Glendale,
We
too.
would go to
But
Las
you like
Vegas,
coming here.
Arizona. We would go to, and he bought some land in a place called Deming, New Mexico. Yeah, kind of
A little
a
town by the
little
border
town by the
there.
border there. You always wanted
Thinking
to,
what?
yeah.
What was he thinking?
Just some
Maybe
investment.
eventually have a
you know, they used
retirement
to have
home
those
there.
ads, you know, you can buy land, you know, $50 an acre and stuff, you know, down there.
He loved the West.
But he loved the West, and we finally moved here. Everybody said, the Sorrentinos finally left, you know. And
They're gone.
Well, now, when he moved here, he was in the shoe business for a while. Robert Evans.
Yeah, a
shoes.
little
He was.
bit out here, briefly for maybe a year, and then he went to work in the art
Dark
gallery,
alley.
you know.
Okay. So now when you guys drove out, right,
Right.
every summer,
Oh,
did
yeah.
you camp on the way or stay in hotels?
No,
Stay at
we
motels.
stayed at
Okay, like
motels,
Holiday
basically.
Oh, they had
Howard
Motel
John
6,
stayed
Howard
at
John.
Motel 6.
Same places every year? Or was it like,
Mm,
we're not going back there?
Different ones, you know, and the station wagons were those great big things back then. You were
Yeah.
kids, you could sleep in
No
the back
seatbelts.
if you need to and stuff and everything.
No cell phones either.
Yeah.
No cell
Ah,
phones.
that's for sure.
Gas was about 50 cents a gallon, maybe, or something like that.
Yeah.
So, do you remember the first time you got to Las Vegas? Or was that before you can remember?
You know, we were pretty young. I remember it must have been in the 60s or so.
I remember having to stay outside of the casino,
Well, I remember that.
downtown, because I was a minor and I wasn't allowed in. So I would stay at the El Cortez downtown.
I remember Mom and Dad at the El Cortez here.
Mom and Dad
They
would
used
be
to have like
inside
a kids
playing.
section, like where the kids could sort of.
Now, when you say the El Cortez, you mean like 4 blocks away?
That's right over here.
That's right.
Okay.
You know, Mom and Dad would play, and they have like a, you know, like a, not really a video arcade, but a thing where kids could be occupied while the parents were playing, and we would go there.
Really?
And everything as far as that.
You could stand under the heavy air conditioning was kind of
Yeah.
nice. Where it was always the summer when we came out. It's
And it
almost
was
hot.
hot,
Yeah.
you know.
So this is like every day you do this?
No, while we were out here, yeah, and it was almost
Or
every
we'd be at
day.
the pool, Mom and Dad would be, you know, playing or whatever.
So those are the days your parents could say, you know, just don't drown.
Pretty much,
Right.
right. We'll be back,
Yeah.
and don't get in
You don't have to
trouble.
worry about it.
Exactly, you know.
Okay. Now, my hunch is driving out a lot of anticipation. Oh, good, we're going to be there.
Oh, sure. That's a long drive.
Yeah. And then how was it going home?
It was okay. It was a little different going home because, you know, it was always towards the end of the summer.
Right.
And school was going to start a week or two after you got
That meant
back.
summer was coming to an end if you were
Summer
driving
was
back
going
home.
down, and
So that
school
was
was
kind of
going
a
to
down.
start.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, now we're back in the routine.
And on the way, we picked up fireworks for everybody in the neighborhood back in New
Oh,
Jersey.
yeah.
So.
So that was part of
Everybody
Part
had
of it.
fireworks and
Yeah.
stuff when we got back.
They didn't sell fireworks in New Jersey. No.
Sorrentinos are back. Let's get our fireworks.
Bottle
That's our
rockets,
stuff, you know.
shoes, cherry bombs.
Right, you know.
Okay.
But,
Now let's. So family dinners on Sunday.
every Sunday we go to, we used to call her Nana, or Dad's mom. And we'd have always Italian food, of course, you know, spaghetti, and she made the best raviolis.
Huh.
Oh my God, that was like her specialty. She could cook anything, but the raviolis were her specialty. And we would have contests when we were kids, see who could eat the most, you know, and they would keep track and keep records, you know, like
Oh, really?
Easter you ate 14, you're gonna break your record.
I'm
here,
not
you
sure that
know,
was
and
too
then-
healthy.
I don't know. This is back in the old days, you know,
Right.
or stuff like
Sure.
that. You know,
Now, was your mother or your grandmother from Abruzzi? Or
yeah,
was she-
yeah, she was from
She was from
Vermont,
the same
Colorado,
area, yeah,
sure.
she was.
Yeah.
Okay. And did she ever make polenta?
I don't remember that.
Did.
Did she?
I think she
Did
did.
she? Okay.
Yeah, I think she did.
Or was it a big thing?
Her
Not a
big-
big thing.
It was ravioli. Was the
Raviolis were a big thing there, but she could cook like it was unbelievable. Anything, and that was unbelievable.
So Sundays were day of relaxation.
Oh yeah,
family.
kick back, take it easy, you know. Go to church on holidays. Should have gone more, but definitely on holidays you go, you know.
Okay. And did you go to Catholic school growing up?
I went for 1 year, and it didn't work out for me or the nuns. No. They were glad to see me go, and I didn't really crazy about it. So Dad
Mom
pulled
went
us
to
out.
Catholic school.
Mom went.
She was
Mom was
Irish.
very religious. She went through Catholic school her whole life.
But
yeah.
my father went to Trenton High School. He graduated. That was a big time high school back then when he
Yeah.
graduated. It was one of the better high schools in the country.
Really?
And we both graduated from Lawrence High School, which is in Lawrence
Little
Township,
township
right outside
of New Jersey, between
Okay.
Trenton and Princeton.
So Trenton is also a historic city.
It is.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
you probably in elementary school, middle school, really learned how important
Washington
Trenton was.
crossed the Delaware. In fact, our dad, this is a crazy story. He was an artist since he was a kid.
Huh.
There's a school in Trenton called Cook School. Oh my God, the school is a zillion years old. Up to a few years ago, Dad had made a picture of George Washington and was still hanging in that school.
Wow.
And this must, oh my God, this must have been 70 years ago. He
Yeah.
did this, you know.
Wow.
But because it's funny when you go back, we were back. I was back for a funeral about a year ago. You don't realize how things are different. You know,
Yeah.
you're used to Vegas. If you've been here, you know everything's open all night. There after 11, after about 9:30, 10. Oh, he has a 7-Eleven. You know. So I'm going to a Walgreens. And I see it, I'm saying, what's the matter with this place? The door's not working.
Closed,
I'm
then what's the matter?
It's 10 o'clock at night, they're
And they're
closed.
closed.
You know, I'm used to Vegas. where
Yeah,
everything
well,
is
you're
just going.
spoiled by that.
Yeah.
I am, that's right, you know.
But that's how it was growing up, right?
It was.
Maybe
Stores
today-
closed at
Stores
9
closed,
o'clock.
you
That was a
couldn't-
late night
You
for a
couldn't
store.
buy
back
certain
then.
things on Sunday and everything,
Right.
Some
and the
places
whole
closed
thing,
on Sunday.
you know, as far as that goes.
Blue laws, they call it.
Right. That's right. I remember that.
And then the roads, too. I mean, gosh, everything back there, it's so narrow now, bumpy and this and that. And you got factories and doing stuff, and once you've been out here, everything was new and no factories and, as far as that goes there. But
Now, which of you moved here first?
We moved as a
we
family.
pretty much moved
The whole
together.
family,
Yeah.
I went away to college, and you stayed. You and my
Our
sister
sister's in the
went-
middle. So our
Okay.
sister Debbie's in the middle. And Debbie and I came out here about 2 weeks for everybody else. It was in August of
That's right.
'73.
Okay.
And we enrolled in UNLV to finish up school.
Okay.
And then Tony, Mom, and Dad came out about 2 weeks later.
So you finished school at UNLV? So it wasn't like we're going to stay till you graduate?
No, we started, I started in community college back in Trenton in '69.
Okay.
And then
So
finished,
your parents said, we just can't wait.
we can't wait for this, because it took me till '76 to get through UNLV.
And Tony's going to start college, so
And
let's
back
Right.
and
before he
forth,
gets
and
started.
everything.
Okay.
But and that back then, like I said, the town was so much smaller. Then. It was so easy to get around.
Our parents
Something
bought a
like
house
that.
in May of '74 at Spring Mountain in Decatur, out in the middle of nowhere. And you would tell people you lived there, and they would say, "Come on, nobody lives out there." And so that's where we live, Spring Mountain in Decatur.
right there in the
Yeah,
heart of
it's not like the
Chinatown.
There was
you
a
know?
7-Eleven at Desert Inn in Decatur where you went at night to buy your milk, and that wasn't open all night, I don't think, back then, the 7-Eleven. I think it was open until 10 o'clock. And although maybe it was open all night, I don't remember. That's where you went. There was no Albertsons or Smiths. You just had to go to the 7-Eleven. Yeah.
And now, was the 15 here?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
But it's funny when you would see lights at night from the backyard of the house, you could see the strip, and it was pitch dark. The Spring Mountain Road was almost like a country road. I think it was only 2 lanes. But you'd see some headlights coming up, and it was always somebody who lived on the street because nobody else would go out there. It was too far out.
Is that area kind of raised? Is it above the strip?
It's elevated.
It's a little bit elevated.
You could always see the
See.
blue lights of Caesar's Palace from our backyard when we moved
Yeah.
there. But there was nothing in
It's
between.
kind of like an optical illusion, isn't it? That when you're looking west, it looks flat.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're looking
Looking east, you're
it's
staring down over
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
okay. And so that was the end of the road.
That was the end of the road.
Decatur
Spring Mountain
was the
Road
end of
out there. I
Decatur.
remember
You know.
taking the dogs out. It was just fields out there. They could run and do everything there. You can't do that now.
Isn't it interesting though how well the streets were all laid out?
Big time.
You know,
It is.
how now it
Straight.
just keeps going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until you run
That's
into the
true.
mountain.
I remember learning the streets: Flamingo, Tropicana, Charleston, Sahara. I remember learning those
Yeah.
streets. Yeah.
What's funny, in Vegas, you can never get lost because you can always just look over and there's the casino. Now that's got to be Sahara here. There's a Flamingo here, so it's not like you're going to get,
Well, now you have the Luxor and the
That's right.
and Mandalay Bay and everything.
That's right.
I live out in Henderson, and we need to figure out where we're going. We just look up in the sky.
Oh, that's
There you go.
funny.
and see
Yeah.
the Luxor lights.
That's so funny. They just had the anniversary of the Pepcon explosion
That's right.
in Henderson. There,
Oh, really?
I don't. It was 27 years ago, and I think it was yesterday.
I was working downtown when that happened.
I remember sitting.
What
I
year?
was,
Yeah,
right
it was
over
a big
here.
explosion.
it was
Yeah.
a big explosion. And I,
Everybody felt it.
oh God! I
People
heard
thought it was
it.
a plane crash.
I thought it over here, and I
That's
said,
what
"Oh
we-
my God, was there a plane crash?"
I
or
was working
something?"
right up the street at
That was right
7th
here
and
in the
Bridger
office.
at Louis Wiener's firm, and Herb Waldman was one of the named party. He had binoculars, and we were looking out there, and there was this huge plume of smoke, and we assumed it was a plane crash
Yeah,
because we
put
felt
on the
it.
TV, and it made national
And the
TV.
Pepcon plant had exploded. About 8 people got killed, I think. And I mean, people had windows blown out all throughout Henderson. Oh yeah,
And what was it that they had out there?
ammonia perchlorate.
Okay.
ammonium perchlorate.
Something happened. They weren't.
Something happened in a.
And I'm funny because Mom and Dad were down in Orlando, Florida. Our sister was going to have
Jackie.
her second baby then.
Uh-huh.
And they called up and they said, "What's this on the news? A big explosion out there. What we can't leave town for a few days and we get this."
Well, the other thing I remember distinctly, when I was in law school, was the MGM fire.
Oh yeah.
And when that happened, and I tried, because I was in Texas at the time going to law school, and I kept trying to call up to see if everybody was open, and I couldn't get through. There was no cell phones back
that
then.
was crazy.
They would say the circuits are all busy, call back later. And it was, because it was a tragedy. But
Now, what about the Atomic Cafe? That was that? It was here, but could people see the testing or something? Is that where it got its?
that stopped in the late 50s, the old above ground stuff at the city. Herb Waldman, this guy I worked for, he grew up here.
Okay.
And he remembers that. He remembers you could see the big flash of light when they did it, back in the 50s and all that. But I guess by the late 50s they had finally figured out that this is not a real healthy thing
Not
to
a
do.
real thing to do.
Above ground nuclear explosions are not real healthy, so they finally started putting them below ground. Yeah.
People in Indian Springs were glowing in the dark.
Exactly.
Something ain't right here, you know? What the heck's going on?
Yeah.
So now, do you know Guy DeHiro?
I know the
He
name.
was in the auction.
Is he an auctioneer?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
I remember
He's
that.
been here a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. But Angelo Casaro came after you. He came in 1980.
Okay. Where did he move from?
Buffalo.
Buffalo.
Okay.
Oh, okay. We see a lot of people from Buffalo. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's a lot of
people
members of
from
the club from Buffalo.
Oh,
bet.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny when one guy there and was sometimes have a cheap Dewangas out
Oh, yeah,
there
right.
in Depew, you know,
Yeah.
and we always used to sneeze him. I said, well, why did you leave Buffalo? You always had those white Christmases. He said, yeah, but it was those white Easters that got to me, you know? Like you couldn't find the car, and it was like middle of May, you know? It's
I spent 5 years living in Chicago, and I knew people from Rochester and Buffalo, and I know why they left there. I mean, you know, it's but
It wasn't the
it just
bus in summer.
it was really, the winters would just go on for like 8 months, and they were rough.
Yeah, the chicken wings and everything were good, so his pack a few
Right.
more up before that, you know, as far as that goes there.
So when did you first consider Las Vegas your home? Stop considering Trenton.
You know, it's funny, and I say this, and people don't believe me. When we first moved here, it's like we lived here, as far as I was concerned, basically my whole life.
Yeah.
I always said, this is home. And you know,
Wait,
it's funny.
before, when you would come out for summer?
When we first moved here,
Okay.
you know, it's like a lot of people, when you first moved here, they'd say, okay, I'm going back home for Christmas.
Oh, yeah, right.
I never say that. I say I'm going back to Jersey to visit, but home is Nevada is the state song. It's funny.
Huh.
But we were here, and I never, people say, even today, some people in here 20 years say, I'm still going back home for Christmas. I would never say that. I just
Now, the
didn't click.
day
It's
you
like,
left Trenton, like you
Yeah.
packed up, was leaving. Do you remember that day?
pretty much, I remember we packed up and everything.
Yeah,
Jack
we
was
sold
at
our
the
house there
Yeah.
on Colonial Lake
So
Drive.
when you
remember
were
that.
okay,
Station
we're
one.
leaving.
Finally,
Packed up,
they
we're
said,
leaving.
this time the
Now,
vacation.
was it like sad, or was like,
Well, it was sad. My grandfather was that sad because we were moving away at that time. So
He
you
wasn't
remember that?
But it
Yeah.
was one of those, we moved in August, and I think that Christmas I was back to visit, you know, that type
Yeah.
of thing there.
Yeah.
not
You
back
know,
home?
it's,
You went to New Jersey.
In fact, it's our sister right here. I got on here.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was okay, good, we're leaving.
It was almost like a relief that finally, after so many years of preparing, we're actually going to go. We're going to go.
I think it was an element of sadness leaving where you grew up and everything, but that was, once we moved out here, that sort of changed,
Once it
Went away
out
pretty
of the region
fast.
there,
went away pretty fast when
once
we
you
moved
got
out here. Yeah.
Now, do you remember when Las Vegas came in sight? It was the end of the trip, and it was okay. We're
Actually, I do.
I do remember.
Coming over Hoover Dam, isn't that how we came?
Yeah, we used
or-
to come down through the south. If you go to New Mexico,
yeah. You know,
To
I talked to
check
a
on
few
the line and
people
then
that
cut
they
out-
said that. I would always think you'd come from.
80 and 70 through Colorado? Or,
Yeah, that's what I always thought.
we would cut
But I
down,
talked to people, and everybody seems to have gone over the dam.
and we would go Deming down there, and then cut over to Arizona, and then cut through Tucson. Mom and Dad used to love Tucson too, Tucson, Arizona, and then Phoenix, and then up through the dam there. We down into
And then
Vegas, but they were
so
pulling
when
in.
you saw it,
Says, hallelujah, we're here, no more sleeping in the car.
And the thing you notice, of course, when we first got here was hot, but it was so dry. I mean, it was 4 or 5% humidity back
like a
then.
blast.
Yeah, it was.
You know, it's funny. It used to be, my dad used to say, back east was like in the summer, like going out into a sauna.
Sauna.
Here it's like going out into an oven. So
I
you
know,
pick your
that's what's
poison, you
working,
know,
yes,
and
yeah.
it's just because back east, you know, we remember you took a shower, you couldn't get dry. It was like, you know, 2 hours
Right.
later, you know, the humidity
And talcum powder.
exactly. And you know, and a lot of the places there in the older houses didn't have central air. So our grandparents, we would stay there on weekends. They had like 1 or 2 window units.
Oh,
That was
So
big
you'd be
back
standing
then.
in front of the window unit like at 2 in the morning, getting cold
Yeah.
before you went to the other end of the house where it was, you know, where it was.
Many of the homes back there did not have
I
central
think
air.
today, and a lot
Now
of
they
the cars, even in the real old days, the cars didn't have air.
Now, what was the strip like when you got? You said, I think earlier, you said Caesars was being built.
Well, when we first came out, when we were, kids on summer in the '60s, Caesar. I remember going to Caesar's when it was like under construction, or it was getting, because there was a lot of publicity about it. When we moved here in '73, everything was up and running. The Caesar's, the Dunes, the Riviera, the Tropicana, and then the Hacienda was up. And was the Hacienda here then? Yeah, I remember that.
So was Joe Louis working at the Caesar's?
He was.
I think he was. He's a greeter. Yeah, he was. Yeah, I remember seeing him.
Greeter at Caesar.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I do remember that. Yeah. We saw Elvis on one of our trips back here. I remember that. It was called the International back then.
Before it was even the Hilton.
We were out here on the summer, and then there was we were going into the end, and there was a big crowd, and then it was over. It was signing autographs.
We were walking into we were now at the Westgate before it was the Hilton, the International.
Then it was the International.
There was all this crowd. And we looked over at the front door coming up, and here comes Elvis, but all these people, women grabbing his shirt. And then trailing way behind him, this little gal with his hair up like this. It was Priscilla.
Oh.
And she was short, but that bouffant hairdo, I guess, and she was
that's
like
how
this.
Mom knew who it was Mom saw the woman and said, well, that's Elvis's wife. And then we had to look and see, and it was Elvis surrounded by, well-wishers and autographs.
Was he average height, tall? Or
He was
about 5'11".
5'10", very friendly with the people, as far as that goes there and everything. And there was a limo waiting there at the front, the valet thing. He'd gotten that, but yeah, that's
too bad we never saw him perform. I would have liked to have seen him perform live. Yeah.
So, was your plan to practice law here?
Well, not
really. I went to law school first.
Yeah.
And I went to law school
because
in Texas.
Frank was still in college.
Well,
no. So long.
Frank was out of college
time,
and was working as a probation officer.
That's right.
Really?
Yeah.
And while I was in Texas going to law school, and then I went to work for an oil company in Houston. And then you came out while I was working for the oil company and went to school. Yeah.
Okay.
Gulf Oil.
Because I got out of college here, finally after majoring in everything, testing everything, hotel. They said, Frank, you got all these credits, you got to pick a major and get this wrapped up here, So I said, well, I like criminal justice. It was a new program. And it was great because almost all the teachers were cops during the day, In the morning, come to class, they bring a box of donuts and talk about what happened last night, So I majored in criminal justice.
Okay.
Got out and then applied to state Nevada as a state probation officer. Took about a year and a half to get hired, so I went back to doing what we always did in the meantime, selling shoes down the mall, And I worked at probation. Then you went to law school first, right?
I did. I went to law school in May of '79.
I went to law school.
Yeah.
So then I said, well, heck, and there was no law school here in Vegas then,
Yeah.
I said,
I moved here to go to law school. When I got here, I found out
there was no law.
There was no law.
I moved to San Diego.
Yeah. Where'd you go? To Cal Western or
Western State? Now Thomas Jefferson.
Really? But it's funny because then they said, well, I'm going to apply for law school. I got in, and the guys at State Farm Probation said, well, Frank, go and try it. If you don't like it, you can come back and have your job back.
Where did you go to law school?
At South Texas College of Law in Houston.
Okay.
Private law school. Tony went to the University of Texas in Austin.
Yeah.
And it was funny because
were they competitors with Texas A&M Law School?
Pretty much.
No, they were big. They were the moot court champions of the world. I went there because they gave me a fabulous deal. They said I applied for financial aid, and they said, okay, well, you can pay in-state tuition. And in-state tuition, when I went there in '79, was on the semester system, was like $200 a semester.
Wow.
So how can I, what a deal.
Sure.
For a fabulous law school. So that's why I went there.
Wow.
When I got in, you got a lot of good student loan money. But we didn't have any money. That was the only way for a private school to go, But I paid back every penny of that money, which was remarkable.
So both of you passed the Texas bar? Or
Yeah, we're both licensed in Texas.
Did you practice in Texas?
Tony did.
I did. I worked for the oil company, and then I left there in '85 and came to work for a firm out here. And then I worked for about 2 or 3 firms before I ended up coming in with my brother in '94.
Yeah.
And did you start out on your own?
No, it's not downtown. It was the old FIB building there at 3rd and Carson. It was at Gladstone and Stark. It was a real small firm. And Scotty Gladstone was an old-time attorney, and Tom Stark still practices somewhat here. Scotty passed away, retired, passed away, and after a while, I just said, listen, let me try it on my own. And Dad said, why don't you give it a shot? What the heck? So you started out, this building here, we started renting it first. And we
This building here?
Right. It was
Okay.
just this one office, and there was another attorney and a couple other people next door.
There's an
Like
insurance
4
guy down
units,
there.
right. You know, I just started out just putting little ads in the Nifty Nickel and stuff and everything.
And grew to television.
And then grew to the TV and stuff and kicked in. And then.
And how is the law practice here in Nevada, or the court system?
Well, I think it's great. I think it's good. And the way Vegas is, I mean, it's a big town, but then it's a smaller town too. You know, the legal
Yeah.
community, people,
So
everybody
collegial.
knows everybody.
That's a real good word I was going to use, collegial. I just got through some depositions at a big firm up in Summerlin, and you know, in some sense, if you go like practice law in a big city, sometimes there's some real antagonism
Sure.
between lawyers
Which you
that
don't really have
trying to
here,
bluff
you know?
them, and I just haven't seen much of that at all here in Las Vegas. I really haven't, which is a good thing, I think. You know?
We interviewed some young guys that went to UNLV, and they all said how easy it was to get employed here.
Sure,
Yeah,
probably
it's
compared to our background nephew, because we kind of sort of a family of attorneys. Yes, our brother-in-law's a lawyer, our aunt's a lawyer, our nephew's a lawyer. He went to work in New
I don't know
York.
if he knows. Our brother-in-law is Rick Larson. Many years ago, he used to do the news here at KLIS, the weekend newses and all that.
Yeah.
And he used to interview a lot of good sports. He's
people and
interviewed
everything.
Muhammad Ali.
Wow.
He's interviewed what? Did he ever interview Tyson? I don't know, but there's a picture of him interviewing Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, he was with Channel 8. He
Channel
would do
8,
the weekend news, and then he was a professor at UNLV journalism.
Huh.
And our sister was in his class.
And that's how they met. And
I
then he went to law school, and then I think I went to law school after him, and then you went to law school after me.
So she ended up marrying the professor. I thought it was going pretty far just to get an A in the class, but what do I, you know? And then we always used to have to watch on the weekend the news. Okay, Rick's doing the news. Okay, everybody watch the
Okay,
news. there.
stop doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right, everything right here or something. Okay, this is great, you know, as far as that goes there.
Wow.
Well, KLIS back then was right behind the Desert Inn, as I remember.
Yeah.
Same. It was not that many stations back then. You know.
So how are things now in Las Vegas?
I think they're great.
Picking up.
I'm like a big promoter of Vegas. You know, it's funny, when people come from back east and I start ranting and raving about the weather, they think, oh, here goes Frank again, you know, Mr. Chamber of Commerce, throwing the bull, you know. And in fact, they'll call up in January and say, how's it out there? Oh, it's 75 and sunny, and back there it's in the 20s and
Yeah.
snowy. They think you're rubbing it in, you know, but you're telling the truth.
Yeah.
And
I've lived all over this country. I've lived in New Jersey, in Chicago, in Northern and Southern California, and Texas, and I wouldn't live anywhere else.
Yeah.
I did.
Now, what part of Northern California?
The Bay Area. Before I went to law
What
school,
part
I
of
spent.
the
I lived in Foster City, which is right next to San Mateo, and then I worked in Oakland
That's right.
for Bank of America,
Ah,
and that was the year before I went to law school.
okay.
And it was great, except it was so expensive up there. It really was.
Even
you know?
back then.
It was back then. Even back then.
I was born in Oakland. I grew up in Pleasant.
Oh, you're kidding.
I know where Pleasanton is too. Yeah,
Oh,
it's in
that's right.
Contra Costa County, I think.
Alameda.
Alameda
right
County,
next
right
to
next to it, yeah.
Right next.
Oakland, you know, back then, I mean, it's got the climate of the Mediterranean, but it's got kind of a bad rap because of some crime issues and all.
Yeah.
I enjoyed my time there. I just was careful of certain parts, you know, but I enjoyed working there. Really
Well,
did.
I'm
You know?
glad to hear that, because Gertrude Stein said about Oakland is there is no there there.
That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
So,
It sort of suffers
And
an
San Francisco.
inferiority complex from its big brother across the bay, you know,
Yeah.
San Francisco, and that was you noticed that when you worked there.
Yeah.
His best friend from back east, we grew up with him back east.
Yeah.
He's retired now, was an attorney out in Palo Alto.
Palo Alto, California. Yeah, he went to
Yeah.
Santa Clara Law School and he worked out there, and now he's retired. Yeah.
okay. My undergraduate degree is from Santa Clara.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I
It's,
know that area a little bit, but
You do. Yeah, that's a nice area. It's expensive to live there now.
Very
You thought it was expensive back then.
It's
And
crazy.
he goes
Yeah.
all the golf. He was at Pebble Beach this year. He
Oh,
goes to another tournament, Torrey Pines in San Diego.
Torrey Pines, I go
Okay.
to. I'm going to go to the Memorial.
There
I
you
can't
go.
play golf, but I like to watch
He
golf.
follows.
Never played.
You know, it bothers my back. It really
Oh.
does. And, you know, I tried it a couple times and it just hasn't been a big success. So I'm more attuned now to watching good golf. I'm a connoisseur of good golf.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, that's very interesting. I grew up on a golf course, but I didn't like playing golf.
Is that right?
In Pleasanton, the country
That's
club.
right. Sure.
And we had to learn to play. That was just one of those things.
Yeah.
My son plays golf in the college team, and so he loves it. But I just don't get it. I don't get the game.
A lot of people are like that. They, you criticize people. Why do you watch that on TV? And they'll say to me, well, why do you watch something on TV where they're trying to put a little white ball in a hole? Why do you watch that? It's an acquired taste, I think.
That's
That's
Well, I know that the day is rushing on. I have one last question. Sauce or gravy?
Sauce.
Sauce.
Okay, that's what it was.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Oh,
thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much.
It's great.
See you so much.
Everybody's going to love it.